Today we're doing pie crust, and I'm going to demonstrate to you just how easy it is to be able to make a homemade pie crust. The basic recipe starts out with 2½ cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, that's to help the browning, a teaspoon of salt, and into the flour you want to whisk it up to distribute all the salt and the sugar. I have set in 1/2 cup of cold cubed unsalted butter and 1/2 cup of cubed vegetable shortening. I also have the utensil of choice, which is a pastry blender. The motion is, as you're turning the bowl counterclockwise, you're going to be taking the pastry blender down and you're going to be cutting the fat into the flour like I'm demonstrating right here. One of the reasons why you want to be able to use cold butter is that butter does melt at 86 degrees, and therefore having it cold will keep your dough from getting too soft. You're looking for a consistency not completely like crumbs, like graham cracker crumbs, but you're more looking like small peas. I think we pretty much are there. Now, here's where most pie crust fail. I'm using, there's always a liquid binder. You can use cold water or ice water, but today I'm using apple cider. And the reason for that is that not only does it give a nice color to the crust, but it also adds a little flavor, and that acid in there will tenderize the dough. So what you want to do is just sprinkle on, I'm using starting with 1/2 cup of liquid, just sprinkle on just maybe half of it. Let it sit for just a couple seconds, and just stir the dough with your fork. Then you want to just drizzle on almost all the rest of your liquid, reserving some. Let it sit for a moment. Then you just want to take your fork, you just want to stir it so that the liquid kind of comes together, and you can see that there's going to be big dough pieces coming together like this. So now that you've got it right about here, what you're looking for is to bring it together in a ball. What you want to do is press the dough together, just like this, until you've got a ball. Turn your ball out. Just want to press it together, don't knead it too much. For a single crust, you can cut it in half. If you want to do a double crust, you want to cut one piece a little bit bigger. You can see just how nice that is, just like that. Take your plastic wrap, put your dough down like that, cover the top. At this point, I like to flatten it out, because instead of having a really high dough ball that you have to beat down, flatten it. Cover it with plastic, and you want to refrigerate that for at least 30 minutes before you roll it out. Now for the all-important rolling. And one of the most important aspects of this, people always say, how do I flour it? Well, you're looking for just a light sprinkling like this. You don't want to get too much, because that'll make the pie crust tough as you're rolling more flour in, but you want to be able to make sure it doesn't stick. So you want your motions just like this, and when you start to see it rolling out, I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. Watch your edges. The chilling helps you get a nice even roll. Don't be alarmed by some of the streaks of the butter and the shortening. You want that. That's where you get your tenderness and your flakiness from. It's important to make sure you have enough water in your pie crust, because if you don't, you won't be able to do any of this. It's starting to get soft there. Whoop. I'll show you how we're going to work that in, and now we're going to transfer it to our pie tin. What you want to do, anchor your dough here. Roll it just like that. Bring your pie dish over. Lift it up. Just let it roll right in. It's okay to shift it. going to come up. Let it sit in there. Make sure you dust your hands a little bit. Don't worry, you can always patches up pretty nicely at this point. This is where you can come along with your knife or a pair of scissors. You want to trim it up. I like to roll it under just to give myself a nice edge to work with. If your hands are too sticky, the butter will start to melt. And then where you need a little bit of dough, just melt it right in like that. Kind of like a rope, you're tucking it under, creating your crust. Now what I do is I go back, smooth it out, give myself a nice ridge. Now at this point, if your dough is soft, my recommendation is to refrigerate it, but I'm going to show you how you can create a nice edge right at the top. This is perhaps the simplest and best edge for a pie crust, okay? Call it the pinching method. Come along just like this. And what it does is not only does it give you a really nice fluted edge, it also anchors it out. This is a very soft, very nice, butter-rich crust. And there you go. An alternate decorative for your pie crust, I use the tines of a fork lightly dipped in flour to give your crust some definition. And I've gone all the way around the pie crust. To give it just a little bit of lift, a little bit of interest, we're going to put a little bit of a fluted edge using the same motion as I did before, the pinching motion, about every 2.5 inches all the way around the pie crust. And that way you still have, it's almost like a flower petal effect. This looks really good with pecan or pumpkin pie. And you just come all the way around like that. Definitely want to chill this one very good. And there you go. What I would do at this point is I would chill this for at least 20 minutes before I baked it. If you're going to be using a cream pie, like a lemon meringue or a chocolate cream, you're going to want to pre-bake. You want to pre-bake this. You want to be sure to chill it. If you're doing like a pumpkin pie, you can still chill it, fill it up, and bake it, and you'll be fine. If your top crust is going to get too brown, I would recommend just covering it lightly with foil while browning. And for the Daily Herald, this is Annie Overboe.